Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. I hear you. You keep saying there's too much noise. These shows are not talking enough about what really matters. All gotcha, all the time, all ephemeral, all salacious. You're right. Too much heat, not enough light. You want to go deep? Let's get after it. I want to talk to you about something I never have before, and I haven't heard it discussed. There's a growing threat, and people don't address it. They frankly dismiss it. Now, tonight we have the latest on the manhunt for the CEO assassin, the penny trial, and where the Trump cabinet picks suggest he will take us. Each and all of these stories, like October 7th, like Trump's assassination, they are all metaphors for the same proposition. Who are we becoming? My answer is admittedly being offered early, but it is accurate. The CEO assassination is horrible for Brian Thompson, for his loved ones. But it also raises questions. First, about how people see the tactics of the insurance machine, and I hope the industry hears them, because the system is regarded by many as rigged against the patient. I've reported on this. Actually, the president of NewsNation, Mike Korn, started off with me at ABC reporting in part on insurance tactics. Personally, right now, my family is fighting for coverage for a surgery for my kid. So I get it. But the bloodlust, the celebration of a man's murder speaks to something way more threatening to you and me than anything an insurance company could ever do.
It's actually impossible to know the amount of murders that Brian Thompson is responsible for. That man is responsible for more deaths than every known serial killer in the United States combined.
The guy was a serial killer. He had blood on his hands. He had millions of people's blood on his hands.
He had over $100 million in assets. He knew what he was doing. This is just his bed, and he's lying in it. The ground, actually.
Remember, this man was on the way to give a speech to investors about all the money he made from denying healthcare coverage to people. He was a f***ing ghoul. People are sick and tired of their suffering being monetized.
These are only the ones we can show you because TikTok will strike stuff where people are openly talking about being happy someone's dead. There's plenty of it. Now, many will shake their head and say, the furious few, keyboard bullies, more proof social media is toxic. Okay, but I see it as much bigger, badder, especially because the rabid response to the CEO killing is not an isolated event. It is the third flashpoint evincing a pattern. October 7th, Trump's assassination attempt, and now the UnitedHealthcare CEO assassination. All three were not just suggestive of rampant rudeness, departure from the accepted principle here that we remain humane no matter what matter of inhumanity is confronted. Otherwise, what separates the virtue from the vice, the good from the evil? The reactions we have seen are signs that many have lost the plot of how things change in a constitutional republic. We have entered the era in America of an acceptance of violence as a legitimate way to change systems or policies. What is being defined as the oppressor. We have a word for that in the law. When violence is embraced as an accepted means for political or regime change, that is called terrorism. These people celebrating the CEO's death are embracing terrorism, like those saying Israelis got what they deserve on October 7th. Not in terror camps, on our campuses, they're saying it. Here, those seeing Hamas terrorists as freedom fighters, baffled at first, right? We were. How could people be so confused? But maybe they're not confused at all. Maybe they see Hamas as the good guys because they themselves embrace the fundamentalism and terrorism. I even noticed pro-Palestine accounts celebrating the CEO's assassination. Same with when Trump was shot. How could people pretend it was fake or lament that he lived? I reached out to the president-elect, who, by the way, does not like me and may even have me with his only the best bunch on some target list. But I called him anyway. Why? To say I was sorry that his near death was seen as a near miss for success by so many. Now I get it. Look, there's nothing wrong with opposing Trump personally and politically. He is wildly unpopular for good reason. And what he inspired on January 6th and what those Fugazi patriots did are examples of this growing problem I'm telling you about. But, when you start to see the death of who you oppose as acceptable impetus for change, you're now what we are supposed to be opposing. Many on the left keep warning there are signs of Christian fundamentalism in Trump's speeches and cabinet picks. Okay. And what Trump's rally at MSG was really about was a Nazi dog whistle. And now we've crossed the line. Why exaggerate like that when the truth is enough for political scrutiny and disqualification of Trump? Because it's not just about winning. Making Trump Hitler is necessary to raise the stakes to what is worth killing for. Like blaming all insurers for being mass murderers, all Jews, greedy killers who control the media. You have to go big to justify the ultimate rejection. This is an old problem, really old. It's why a Roman emperor dealt with the seething cries for payback among his council by issuing a truth that is echoed through the ages for the best revenge. The best way to avenge yourself is to not become like them. Marcus Aurelius. This is virtue, righteous. This is progress. This is Judeo-Christian ethic. This is Gandhi, Frederick Douglass, MLK, Jesus. The need for superhuman and super powerful messengers is because of how powerful a message they're up against. And we're seeing it now here, when it seems right that Jews get raped and killed and burned. And when I say that, look at the comments on my posts. Who says it's fake, the numbers were exaggerated, that Israelis did it, or that, of course, this is what the oppressor gets from Americans. Notice how many felt the same about Trump. Hitler and Nazis who want to destroy the democracy, create a dictatorship. And now with the CEO, from the river to the sea, all the messages about the CEO only being the first. Suggestions, 1 million insurance employees should be killed. They're all part of it, right? Like the Jews, like the maggots, the derisive way of describing Trump voters, like the trans and other freaks. It's all the same expression of extremism, of fundamentalist beliefs we usually associate with who? Islamist animals. Now, why am I conflating the aggressions of the trans and the CEO? Why am I conflating it all? Because we don't have Democrats or Republicans like we did. The fringe minorities of each haven't just been magnified by social media. They're not just magnified minorities. They become force multiplied in calling for extreme notions of change, and worse, how change should be made. Ask Iranian refugees how they went from a free society to a rancid regime in charge now. Many fundamentalist strongholds were once cosmopolitan, secular. Why do the Russians like what's coming out of the fringe right pod space? Why were they offering those guys money? Why is that space in some independent media so insistent on telling you anything but them cannot be believed? And then what they want you to believe are conspiracies that do everything to compel you to reject everything about this country. To be replaced by what? I see it. We need to stop it. That's why I'm on the political party so much, to stop feeding their fringes for short-term advantage. Why I try to make conversation with opposing viewpoints. To show there's so much more that we share than what some are trying to make worthy of us tearing ourselves apart. to cheer for the assassination of a businessman, to wish your president had been shot in the head, to feel good about Jews being slaughtered on October 7th. There is something going on here that has happened in other places, and it leads one way, away from freedom and toward fundamentalist, violent extremism. So, that's my context of looking at the latest on who murdered the CEO, our first story. But for me, it's all about why. Now, the reporting that's newest, police believe the killer's possible motive was that he was a disgruntled employee or a client of the health insurance company. Plays exactly into my theory. However, questions are still driving speculation. Was he working alone? Was he doing this job for someone else? Police have just found the suspected killer's backpack by the carousel in Central Park. This is key, because the backpack could hold more evidence, right? It had the DNA, and obviously you know that that's the way you find somebody. The NYPD announced earlier today that they don't believe he's still in New York City. Why? Police have video of the suspect exiting Central Park on a bike at 77th Street, video of him on West 86, the Upper West Side of Manhattan, where he loses the bike and walks. He then gets in a taxi, goes 100 blocks north to a Port Authority bus center. Interstate buses go through there. There's no video of him leaving, so they assume he got on a bus. They're trying to figure out which one. They were also able to secure a swab of what they believe to be the suspect's DNA from a water bottle that he left behind at the crime scene that we told you about yesterday, and his burner cell phone, which may contain touch DNA, and they got to break into it and figure out what else is in there. Authorities are doing all of that right now, and the more they give us, the more we'll give you. Now, what about what's in the hostel? What about where he is headed and why? Could he have a plan to do this again? Let's process what this all means to the better minds. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.